Compromises. It's the first word that came to mind the moment I held the iPhone Air. It's a thin, light, and beautifully made phone that's missing a few key features we've all come to love about the iPhone. I've been using the iPhone for a week, and in this review, we're gonna go over 6 of the good and the not so good features of this phone. The first thing that I'm gonna get into is the design of this iPhone. The iPhone is lightweight, it's thin. I mean, it's a joy to use. And honestly, sometimes I even forget that it's in my pocket. So I'm traveling right now, I'm in the park. I'm just walking around and I have the iPhone in my right pocket, and I'll be honest with you, I even forget that it's there. It's a joy to use. I mean, the thinness of this phone is just amazing. I love the titanium frame, the glass, just the design of it is actually very, very nice. A lot of the reviews that you may have seen may have talked a lot about the lightness of the phone and also just how awesome it is to use. I would say that this is probably the future of smartphones. In my opinion, I do think that eventually all smartphones are going to have to be this thin and lightweight. I'm coming from the iPhone 14 Pro, and I've noticed that even that thing just feels super, super heavy. So one thing that I forgot to say about the iPhone frame is that, yes, it's made out of titanium. Yes, it feels like a single piece of glass, but that isn't to say that it's not strong. One thing that I did do was, as I was recording, I dropped it on the floor, and I'm not gonna lie, I gasped a little bit just because I thought I had shattered something or dented the frame, and it came out without a scuff. I had to spin my iPhone Pro, the stainless steel bezel, super scratched after dropping it even once. So I was actually very, very impressed with the quality of the iPhone. Let's talk a bit about the next thing, which is the camera, and more specifically, the back camera. So the iPhone Air boasts the 48 megapixel fusion camera, so you get 2 lenses in one camera. And I am coming from the 14 Pro, so I'll be honest with you, I do miss having a telephoto. The wide angle, not so much, but the telephoto, it just leaves a lot to be desired. I was recently at the Hell's Kitchen show with Alicia Keys, and I was trying to record her singing, and I really found that the camera lacked in quality and zoom range, and it just wasn't the best experience. So the back camera, like I said, it is 48 megapixels. You do get pretty clear photos. The videos look pretty good, and here are some examples of that. But I will say that I do kind of miss having that zoom range. I think that the future of the phone should have 2 cameras. If we could have the iPhone 17 camera system in the iPhone Air, I think this phone would have been a slam dunk. And I'm pretty sure that's what Apple's working on next, is being able to include 2 cameras in the Air body. So we'll see where that goes. So that is the design and the back camera. Now let's talk a little bit about the front camera, because the front camera is actually a massive upgrade compared to what we had before. The front camera is an 18 megapixel center stage camera. So that means that you never really have to worry about positioning your camera. You could hold it landscape or portrait mode and capture the entire scene. As people walk into the scene, you'll see that the camera will change in rotation or orientation in order to capture people. And this camera is actually pretty awesome. And here's some examples of that. Taking selfies, also the face detection. Apple said that they made this sensor square so that you can position it in any way. So that is a welcome change. However, I will say that I don't know if it's going to be enough to make people upgrade, because just having a good front camera and a not so good back camera, or at least lacking one camera, whether it's the wide angle or the telephoto lens, I mean, you're gonna make concessions here. But again, the iPhone Air is all about compromises. It's all about what can they fit in that's gonna cover the majority of the use cases without compromising too much, just giving people a phone that is useful, desirable, and something that they can use. All right, so now let's chat a little bit about the A19 chip that's in the iPhone Air and in the iPhone Pros. It's actually an A19 Pro chip. This chip is actually super fast. It supports Apple Intelligence, which I know the previous iPhones did. However, coming from the iPhone 14 Pro, I really missed having something that was faster, a little more snappy, and overall, I think it's been a nice upgrade. I wouldn't say that those that have an iPhone 16 Pro that it's going to be a big upgrade, but for those that do have an iPhone 14 or something that's a little older, you're going to benefit from this upgrade. Overall, I am impressed. I don't have any like metrics from day to day. I just use my phone to text, watch some videos, take photos, things like that. I'm not a power user in any way, but overall, it's a nice upgrade, and at least Apple included something that's faster in the phone. All right, so we have two more points to cover. And stick around till the end because we're going to talk about one of the controversial points of this phone, and it's really about the compromises. So this fifth point that I'm going to talk about is the battery life on this phone. And shockingly, Apple has done a great job giving us something that lasts all day. Here is my battery usage of this phone. Haven't really charged it overnight at all. What I've tried to do is just charge it to about 80% for about half an hour or an hour in the day, and it's lasted me all day. I mean, I do have access to a charger at work or if I'm at my desk, so just plugging it in for 30 minutes just to get to 80% hasn't been too bad. I mean, I haven't traveled with this phone. I am going to go to Europe, so I'm going to do a full battery review of this phone when I get there. But one of the most amazing things is that the phone has lasted me all day without me having to worry. And coming from the 14 Pro, the 14 Pro did have a pretty sizable battery, and I never really had to worry about it. But with the iPhone Air, I thought that I was going to compromise on this. But so far, it doesn't even feel like a compromise. So I'm hoping that the battery lasts all day and that I don't necessarily have to worry about it. So now let's move on to the last and the most controversial point of this phone, and it's the speaker.
A few percentage points under 100% at 96% because I forgot to charge it last night and only plugged it in a few hours ago.
All right, so the speaker. People complain about this speaker. Apple had to make a compromise here. Instead of including two speakers or stereo speakers, where you have one speaker at the top and another speaker at the bottom, Apple decided to get rid of that, put an array of mics at the bottom, and simply have a speaker on top. And I would say that these are compromises that Apple had to make in order to make the design thin. However, I haven't really found it to be that big of an issue. It is noticeable. So if you're coming from any other iPhone and you're going to get the Air, you're going to notice how less vibrant the speaker is. So typically I'll like scroll on Instagram or scroll on YouTube, and I may have the speaker or I may not have my headphones in, and it does leave something to be desired. However, is it worth the trade-off? Only time will tell. I mean, it's only been a week, so I can't really say whether or not it's been an issue for me. I do tend to miss the speaker sometimes. I do find myself reaching for my headphones more often or playing something on a loudspeaker. But, it is what it is. I'll only have to see whether or not I miss it after a month or two of use. So overall, these are the 6 things that I've noticed about this iPhone, whether you love them or you hate them. So far, I've been loving just the weight, the design. I mean, you gotta just look at this thing. This thing just looks awesome. Overall, just like how thin this phone is. It's been very, very well worth the upgrade. But only time will tell. I mean, maybe after a month, I may say, man, I really missed the camera system, and one of the things that I do find myself doing a lot more now too is also carrying my Sony, because I do like to take photos. I do like to record videos, and I can't really do that on the iPhone Air. So time will tell. So now let's answer the question, who is this phone for, and should I even upgrade, right? Well, I'm gonna say this. If you're coming from an older iPhone, 14 and below, this might be a reasonable upgrade. If you are looking for breakthrough features, then maybe this isn't the phone for you. Maybe go for the 17 Pro or the 17. If you don't care about the cameras and you want something that's light, thin, and feels actually new, it just feels like a new device that Apple made, then I would say go with the iPhone Air. You won't regret it. I mean, this thing is sexy. It looks great. It's super light. It's thin. It's a joy to use. I actually find myself wanting to use this phone over the 14 Pro that I have at home. And you're going to forget that it's in your pocket. So if you're looking to upgrade, if you're looking to get something new, if you're looking just like something that isn't so Apple-like, that hasn't been the same iteration of a phone for the last couple of years, then I would say try the Air. Try the Air. I've seen complaints, I haven't necessarily used it, but I've seen complaints about the 17 Pro, the scratches, the camera. I did hold it in the store and that thing was super, super heavy. So if a heavy phone is something that you hate in your pocket, then the iPhone Air is great. And one last thing is that every time I go to the gym, I always take my phone out of my pocket because it would always weigh down. And this is the iPhone 14 Pro. It'll always weigh down my shorts. If I go on a run, it would weigh my shorts down. And with this phone, I never take it out of my pocket. It doesn't weigh my pocket down. I don't feel it at the gym. Sometimes I even get scared because I'm wondering like, whoa, is my phone still on me? So that's one thing to remember. This phone is new, it's different. It looks great. So if that's something that you want to try, go ahead and do it. But with that, this is the review of the iPhone 17 Air. I'm not gonna cover technical specs. Everybody else has covered them. This is just my experience using it. So with that, I'm gonna catch you guys in the next one. Peace.